We are here with Andrew Burke, who is the CEO of Bluberi, a company that in some ways is a throwback to the old days, and that is it's a growth company in the gaming industry. Uh, Welcome aboard, Andrew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Your theme at G2E this year is playfully serious.
Yes.
Why is that?
I think we've had a brand that's been known as having fun, and that's pretty evident when you look at our games, which are more vibrant and sort of animated than sort of the standard game in the industry. Our booths at G2E have been spectacles over the last several years, but I think sometimes what gets lost in that idea of fun is how serious we take the business. Quality is really our highest focus at the company, and it's not just in game development, but it really is throughout everything we do. The sort of level of internal scrutiny and reporting data that we have is rivals companies that are much larger than we are. So we love to have fun, but we take our business very, very seriously, and I think this is a pretty good encapsulation of that.
Well, I think it's a perfect theme actually because it's what the gaming industry ought to be. Uh, I do have to admit, however, I'm a little partial to the line "mad scientists of fun."
Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, we certainly take that responsibility seriously. We think we can do everything and have fun doing it. The work can be challenging, but you can still have fun and do it with a smile.
One of the things that is, it's talking about the word challenge, one of the things that's a challenge for a small company going up against such big companies in a capital intensive business like game development is being able to uh, compete and innovate at the same time. And I know you
Mhm.
guys are really proud of your premium recurring revenue having more than doubled and what it says about that. So speak a little bit about that and maybe some of the products that have uh, created that result.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the premium recurring revenue space is the probably most competitive place on the casino floor, and has the highest amount of competition for everybody in the business. And I think the industry has had a history of smaller companies sort of dipping their toe into the recurring business, having sort of one mediocre game, and then quickly retreating because of how capital intensive it is from a hardware standpoint, and then how capital intensive it is on the R&D side. You have to have a roadmap that is really associated with those product lines. And we at Bluberi 2 years ago, actually more than that, when we started developing the product line, are completely committed to that business. We have the capital structure to enable us to roll out recurring revenue units, and we now have this development pipeline to support that. And in fact, at G2E, we're going to be showing three suites of premium games with six different titles. And we're really on a rhythm where every 4 months you'll be getting a premium suite of games from us. And that commitment means a lot. It's hard, it's challenging. Sometimes customers will say to us like, "Hey, why do you even want to be in this business? You're going up against Aristocrat and these other big behemoths with much bigger budgets than you." And what I say back to them is, if you want to invest in alternatives to larger companies in the business, the best way you can do that is to put our recurring revenue product on your floor. Because we take those proceeds that we generate from recurring revenue and we put them back into the business to invest in more R&D, which is the lifeblood of our business. And sometimes it's challenging to be held to the same standards that the big guys are held to because their budgets are just massive comparatively to ours. But we want to take customers along this journey with us and convince them, invest in us, bet in us. We're committed to this category and going to be there for a long time.
One of the lessons I learned that lesson a long time ago at the knee of the older hands in this business. And there's a particular company whose name I will not mention that had a really good run of creative games, and they were really touting themselves. And I remember Mike Rumbles, who's a guy who's been around a while, telling me, they're doing great right now, but they don't realize what the recurring capital investment is to stay there and progress from this point. And
Yep.
sure enough, that particular company uh, struggled after that for quite some time. Still creative people, still hardworking people, but that was sort of the economic reality that a small
Hmm.
independent company was dealing with.
Yeah, I think if you don't have discipline in the recurring revenue business on how you operate, you can go bankrupt quickly. And I think in my career, I've learned a ton of important lessons around recur and what it takes to really compete there. And it is about both things. It's about your hardware. It's about multiple things, but it's about your hardware. It's about your product roadmap behind that. And then it's also about your commitment to the space. You can't blink when things go tough. You got to push on and keep going. And that's what we're committed to doing.
Oh, another way to put that is quantity versus quality.
Yeah.
And I know that's in a way something you've been touching upon now, and you've got another product, Devil's Lock, that you think epitomizes that. Maybe you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think, when we had the Devil's Lock game originally, everyone kind of said, hey, are they going to be a one-hit wonder? We've seen lots of little companies have one great game. And I think the thing that gets lost there is that we actually have the highest hit rate in the industry in terms of number of titles created and titles cracking the top 25 on Eilers. So we've had 17 of our last 21 games hit the Eilers report, which is essentially every game that's been put out since I've joined the company. And that hit rate is around 70%. And people have said to me, "Oh, you're not going to be able to scale that." Well, pretty much every one of our studios has had a game in the top 25. We really do think that we have a process that's based on some structure, some inputs from the market, and then collaboration and creativity, which is yielding sort of really great results. And we're committed to scaling that quantity over quality. In fact, we're going to put out 45% more games this year than we did last year, and that trend is going to continue over the next several years for us.
That is an extraordinary run. Um, the part of the growth is geographic growth too, and I know you guys are excited being licensed in Nevada. Tell us about your newer jurisdictions and how much more white space there is out there.
Still a ton of white space. So we received our approval from the Nevada Gaming Commission just actually last week here, September 25th, which was a monumental day for the company and just a testament to everybody's really hard work here. Really exciting times over here for us. But we still have Colorado, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Mississippi, British Columbia, Missouri, on New Jersey ahead of us, amongst some others. And so the white space for us is pretty great over the next few years. Our goal is to get sort of through all of those by the end of 2027. Many of them are in process right now as we speak. But it takes, as you know, time, capital to get through those processes. And so we're committed to that. That's an important part of our growth story. But it is nice to have real white space in front of us as we continue to execute on our plan over here.
So you're a growth story, and you obviously have a plan. Uh, as that plan looks out, say 5 years from now, what will Bluberi be?
From my perspective and the team's perspective, as we think about that, we think about what are we going to look like in 2030 a lot. And we sort of backward engineer our way from 2030 to today. And I can tell you that the company is going to be, 4 to 5 times the size it is now, operating in every major category in North America, probably a burgeoning international presence and some other verticals that don't exist at the company today, but we're laying the groundwork for with a passionate, committed team with our eyes on the future. I think our ambition at the company, across the board, is to continue our success story and continue to keep pushing. And we're really committed to the future and try to make decisions today that are really going to benefit us in the long run, not decisions that are going to benefit us this quarter, which is the benefit of being partnered with a private equity firm that can take a longer view of what we're trying to do here.
And of course, the challenge to all that growth is to maintain that entrepreneurial culture that got you there.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. And I really see that as my main responsibility in my job as we continue to go. We have a great team here that can execute in all the different disciplines of the business. but I think the responsibility falls to me to make sure that our culture, the way we operate, the way we interact with each other is what we hope it can be. And so that's what I'm going to be committed to over the next 5 years here.
And will there be an opportunity for public investors to take this ride with you?
Who knows, Frank? You know, it's hard for me to say. I hope that we get to a size where that is an attractive thing for sort of everybody involved. But today we're committed to being focused on the business and growing it for the foreseeable future.
The buzzword of the age in every industry is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
You guys incorporating AI? If so, how and what do you expect the result to be?
Yeah, we certainly are. We've formed a task force internally to look at not just the most obvious places, which everybody always says game development, but there's a lot of other places in the business where AI can help in terms of just even on the finance side, looking at it for billing and collections, on the service side to look at it for how do our customers interact with us? Can they interact with the chat bot and get most of what they need before they have to even call us? And then on to game development, where we're using it to significantly speed up our prototyping today, and then have plans in the future to use it to help us streamline our development process. And I think we're in a really great position to utilize AI because it's not something that's going to reduce our workforce. For us, we're going to be hiring people whether we use AI or not, but it allows us to be more efficient, to take care of our best people, and compensate them, in a more meaningful way as we find efficiencies in the business throughout it. We have had, since I've been here, a pretty significant focus on data, tools, and systems, which is back to that idea that, we're playfully serious, but our ERP system is talking to everything else in the business, and we're using information every day to make the decisions we make here.
Okay. We are heading into G2E, where every year folks display the newest and their best. What are some of the must-see products at your booth this year?
Well, it's going to be really cool. We're in a new location this year, so we're about 20% bigger, and we're sort of on a corner in an area that you would think of as Main Street by sort of all the other larger vendors. We are going to have, as I mentioned, multiple premium product lines, many of which folks haven't seen. We're going to have, I think, 7 more additional titles that people haven't seen from us. We had 12 total new titles that are going to be at the show. But 7 that, if you didn't come to our pre-G2E, you haven't seen yet. And we have about 50% more actual machines in the booth. And so we're going to give a really great demo. And if somebody hasn't been to our booth before for a G2E demo, we do things a little bit differently. We have a pod-based system where you can sit down and take a break and sit on a swivel chair and see all of our products from one place, which is a welcome respite if you've been walking around the floor for a few days.
That and a glass of water will go a long way.
That's right. Free water as well.
Andrew, that's a great overview. Anything else you would like folks to know about Bluberi?
I just want to say thank you to all of our employees, all 275 folks working tirelessly to make this company the great place it is to work. I always, treasure our interactions and think that really our team is so committed to having fun and building a great business. It's pretty awesome. And I really appreciate you having me on here to tell our story.
Always enjoy talking to a mad scientist.
That's right. Indeed. The label fits.
Great. Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. Thanks, Frank.